Anyway, they came running up with the gun in my face, demanding money, said he was going to hurt me or he was going to kill me, and then he slapped me. I think just, I don't know, for effect.
Just before 6 a.m., Jeff drove his daughter to early morning class. When he came back to the house, he noticed something very strange, which led to another incredible survival story. So you come back, what do you notice, Jeff, first of all?
Well, it was dark and foggy, and as I pulled in toward my driveway, I noticed a car parked behind my van in the driveway.
And you just left not so long ago, right?
I'd left probably 10, 15 minutes earlier. It wasn't overly uncommon to have a car parked in front of our house. They're building new houses right next door, and so oftentimes construction workers will park out in front of our house, and I just initially thought, here's a guy waiting for his buddies to show up for work. Why he's in my driveway, I have no idea.
Now, Alberta, inside the house, something else is going on very different.
Oh, I'm sleeping. I didn't know any of this happened until after Jeff confronted them and was tied up. So, yeah, I was having a great sleep.
Now, when you say them, what did you confront?
Well, I guess initially I ought to say that when I saw the car in the driveway, I thought that it did look a little suspicious, and I noticed that the passenger side doors were ajar. And so I went and I picked up my newspaper and I started to approach the car to say, could I help you with something? And as I approached the car, he backed out of the driveway. And I decided I better look at the license plate to get a license plate number because it was becoming more and more suspicious. And I was able to get the first 3 numbers of the license plate before he turned into the street and then pulled into my neighbor's yard, which I thought if this guy was really doing something, he would have got out of there a lot quicker than that. So I still wondered what was going on, and I debated following the car to get the remainder of the license plate. But I turned and looked into my garage and noticed the interior door to my home was ajar also, and that's when I realized somebody was in my house. And I don't know if it was instinct or what that drove me to just walk directly into the home to find out what was going on. You know, I guess I don't know if it's the protective nature of being a husband and father and a homeowner, but I didn't panic.
Your wife and family are there, so obviously, yeah.
So anyway, I went into the garage, opened the door, and I don't know whether they heard me at that point or not, that there's a short hallway that leads into a family room, and I went through the hallway and then noticed somebody cross the doorway of my family room, and so I yelled out to them, hey, what are you doing in my home? Where I was immediately then met at the doorway by 2 individuals who were masked, armed, one of them with I think a toy that they'd grabbed out of my kid's toy box, but the other one had a semi-automatic pistol pointed at my face.
So you got 3 people in there basically. What do they do to you then at this point?
At that point, they said something to me, and I was hoping that I could say something loud enough that my wife would wake up and know that somebody was in the home. They spoke in a very strong accent, which I didn't understand, and so I said to them very loudly, I do not understand what you're saying to me, when I was then told by the one who spoke better English, get down and shut up. And
so did they gag you? Did they tie you up?
They did. I got down on the, actually I initially got down on the steps. I was at the base of my steps, my front steps that lead into the downstairs of my home, and I just sat on the steps hoping it would give me a few more seconds to think through, you know, what can I do at this point. They obviously didn't like me sitting down, and so they pushed me down on my stomach onto the floor. One of them proceeded to then tie my feet with what felt like rope. The other one tied my hands behind my back, and then they tied a gag around my mouth, which I resisted slightly because I wanted to be able to still talk or yell or something if I needed to. And they had told me to open my mouth, push the gag in, and then came back with another piece of material. I don't know if it was a sock or what it was, and stuffed that further into my mouth so that I couldn't speak.
Now, Alberta, at this point, he's tied up, gagged. You then run into them. What happens?
Well, they came in my bedroom and opened the door, and so my first thought was somebody was playing a really good surprise for me and going to take me out to breakfast or something. I soon found out that they shoved a gun in my face and told me he was going to kill me, and And it was amazing. I was pretty calm about it.
That's what you were telling me. I mean, you weren't scared?
You know, look, I think I'm more afraid looking back at it. I was writing it all down the other day and got kind of nervous just thinking about it. I don't know what it was. It was just a real calm feeling that everything's going to be okay. It was kind of like, shoot, this is really for real. And I think if they had a gun, you know, guns change everything. I think I almost could have taken them on if it wasn't for that gun. But
really?
Well, you know,
Don't you like her? Yeah, so, and what did they ask for? What did
well,
they want?
they wanted money, and this is the embarrassing part, because I said, just a minute, we'll get some money. I saw my husband's wallet. I got the wallet out. There was $1 in that wallet. So I tried to give him the wallet.
I bet you they weren't happy with that.
No, they didn't like that. So I said, don't worry, we'll find some more money. I took him in the kitchen, which was such a blessing. There were so many miracles that happened during this. So I was looking through the drawer trying to find some money. I did find a couple dollars, and I found a 20. I said, is that okay? Is the 20 okay? I was trying to find quarters.
Now, we're laughing about this, but this is very scary. Didn't they slap you?
They did in the bedroom. They slapped me, and yeah, they did.
And that, you weren't scared even at that point?
I was more shocked. It was almost like, well, why did you do that? I'm trying to cooperate here. And so I was more shocked than I was. And it wasn't to hurt me, I don't think. It was, you know, the one with the gun was a little more aggressive, but
are you worried about your kids at this point?
You know, I was worried. I think I felt
Are they in the
like
house
they're
sleeping?
asleep,
Okay.
and this was the miracle because they never woke up, and we have some really light sleepers, and they were right there. I mean, right where they could have heard, and they could have heard everything. So that was such a blessing because they had tied kids up and threatened them, and so that was such a blessing. But they
eventually tie you up,
They tied
right?
me up and on my stomach, and they told, you know, I must have said something about the kids, and one of them, the one without the gun, told me that he wasn't going to hurt the kids. He actually brought a blanket to cover me up and put a pillow. And because of that blanket, it gave me enough courage that, you know, they both left me where my husband was never left.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break
Okay.
here because you do get some courage. With
do.
them in the house, you start to call 911. We'll talk about that in a moment. Would you like the chance to contact a loved one who's passed on? Maybe there's a mystery that can only be solved by someone who's passed away. Call us right now at 206-404-LIVE or email us at nwa@comotv4.com for a chance to contact the other side.
We can make the community a little bit safer. Nobody got hurt in this situation, and we've taken some really dangerous people off the street.
Local detective talking about an amazing case with Alberta and Jeff Jones and their family, all basically being robbed at gunpoint. You're tied up. You're in another room. You're under some blankets and tied up. Mm-hmm. And what do you finally do? You get some ideas?
Well, I just thought if I could the blankets over me, if I could just get my arms loose, that at least I'd have my arms unprotected. So I worked and worked until that happened. And then just the thought, I have a cell phone right there. It was even put away. The battery was even charged. And so you can hear them dumping and crashing. And so I just got up and quickly got my cell phone and turned it on, and it's so loud, and then called 911 and had to do that a couple times. And it seemed so loud, but I whispered into the phone what was going on and our address. It took a couple times, and as soon as that she repeated the address, then I hung up on her because I didn't want them to find the phone or hear her.
Right, to know you'd done anything.
Right, and then I hid the phone, and then I waited for the police. And it seemed to take so long. Then I had another thought. You have kitchen scissors. I couldn't get my feet undone. They were tied too tightly, but I had kitchen scissors right there. So I took another chance and got my scissors and untied, and cut myself, laid back down thinking, I didn't know if I wanted them to be there when the police came or not, because that's another whole situation.
Could have been a shootout, could have been
Right.
something else, and your kids are there, right? Yeah.
So I just thought I didn't really want to leave the kids. I didn't know how I could help them there with that gun, so I decided I needed to leave. So I went out the back screen door, ran around the front of the house, right in front of the getaway driver in his car, and went to my neighbors and pounded on the door.
In fact, your neighbor's here. Sandy,
Yeah.
what did you think when you heard this pounding on the door?
My first thought was that somebody was trying to get me out of a burning building. That's how frantic it was. The doorbell ringing, the pounding on the door, very frantic. I didn't think it was a good situation. I went out and looked, and as Jeff mentioned, it was a foggy day, and I thought, oh my gosh, there is a fire. So I ran down the stairs, and Alberta's face was in my window right next to the door, and I knew when I opened the door it was not going to be good news. And she explained that they were being robbed, and they were still there, and she ran in the house and locked the door, and we called 911 again, and witnessed them leaving the development.
And a couple of your kids, Kylie and Aaron, are here. What, didn't one of you find Dad? Didn't you find Dad down there?
Yeah, my
What did you
dad-
think when you came downstairs?
Well, I was sleeping downstairs, and it was like really shocking. I just like stared at him and covered my mouth, and then I started to cry. And he said, "Oh, quick, untie me." So I started to try to untie me, and then he said, "Never mind, go find Mom." So I was.
And he's still all tied up with the duct tape in his mouth and everything else?
Yeah,
And
it was really scary.
had the
So-
guys left at this point?
They had.
What did they end up getting, I mean, when they left?
Well,
How much
we
money?
We still don't have our wedding rings. That was probably the big thing. Not much cash in the home.
Well, all of our, coins and about $24.
$24.
Every anything of jewelry I had that's probably not worth a lot to them, but any necklace, anything my dad or family had given me. So that was all taken out. It's, like his.
And didn't they actually just start hitting another house right after yours? I mean, these guys are pretty brazen. They hit another one right away.
Well, that was another, she talked about miracles. The fact that none of our kids woke up, the fact that they were captured within an hour after they left our home just brought us a huge sense of relief. Yeah, they went up to South Seattle and hit another home right after ours.
Did you have to go identify them or anything like that?
We did.
We did.
But because they had part of the license plate and a really good description from Jeff of the car, when a neighbor called about this other robbery, they were there within 3 minutes. So it was great.
And they admitted to doing your house, or?
They said
Well-
that 2 of them talked and admitted being in our home, and they found our wedding rings in their
So
pockets.
in pretty
so-
good shape. Rachel has a question in the audience. Go ahead, Rachel.
Did you ever think that this would happen to your family?
It's kind of funny because I took a self-defense class this summer, and I've thought about being attacked, and I've had dreams about it, and in my dreams I freeze. I'm mad at myself that I'm not able to fight back or do anything, and so, and I guess my worst fear is the kids being harmed in any way. So no, I never really did, and I was amazed how it was different than I imagined. We were more calm. We were having feelings or thoughts that were helping us through it.
In fact, Matt has a question, too. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, has this changed the way you deal with strangers in the rest of the world, and if so, how?
Are you more
Boy,
nervous now about strangers or
It's
not?
funny because I've thought a lot about this because there are some bad people in the world, but with this experience, we have been overwhelmed with the support. People have been so good, the cards, the calls. We've got dinner from an old T-ball coach. I mean, there are so many good people in the world. It changes it a little bit.
Imagine the people in your church you said all gathered
Oh,
around
my
you.
They were all
goodness.
there
It
within
was-
hours to support and strengthen and help clean up anything that they could clean up.
So what do you attribute this to, your survival and your calmness and the way you handled this?
Definitely our faith in God. I think both of us, as I lay on the floor with a gun at my head for 20 to 25 minutes, I recall thinking, why is my heart not beating faster? Why am I thinking as clearly as I am? And all I could feel was that the Lord was going to support me and He was going to help us through this.
It's a great survival story. Wonderful family, too. Thanks for being with us. We'll be right back.
It's a brand new week on